But in the meantime, as we continue to feature San Diego iconic businesses, I got a chance to meet Dave Gonyer this week over on the Big Biz Show. Speaking of which, you can catch Big Biz Show weeknights every night, 110 million broadcast home strong. Also another program note, Saturdays 11 a.m., myself, little Tommy Rusty Nails on the air on KUSI. Check out that show. But I get Dave Gonyer, the CEO, and Matt D'Onofrio, the CBO, Chief Business Officer. You're actually the guy that runs everything, right? He just gets to take the blame for everything. Is that how that stuff? CBO versus CEO. Is that how that works?
It's a little more tight knit than that.
Is it?
We got a small crew, so we all wear a lot of hats.
So starting with you, Dave, I got a chance to talk to you this week, and just to give our listeners a little bit of a view of this thing, Evoke Pharma is I don't want to say a boutique pharmaceutical company, but it's a specialty pharmaceutical company. Talk about exactly what you guys do.
So we develop drugs for gastroenterology diseases. We look for innovative products that can change people's lives.
Yeah, and bottom line is you guys have a specific product that resolves a specific problem for diabetics, correct?
Right.
Talk about that.
Diabetic gastroparesis, it's a disease that diabetic patients can develop over years when their stomach stops working. So diabetic gastroparesis means paralysis of the stomach. So food, drugs not getting to the small intestine where it needs to go. In
San Diego, we've been called an innovation economy, we've been called, the center of biopharma, going back to Jonas Salk. What's it been like? I'm going to ask you, Matt, for going through COVID. I mean, you're the rainmaker of this thing, right? Are you the one that tries to get the word out on this still?
And yes, in part. So we've partnered with a group called Eversana Life Sciences, and we have a whole commercialization team in the United States out promoting the product to gastroenterologists. And it's not been easy. COVID has, like many ways, affected a lot of different facets of our economy, including promotion and launching of new products. So there's been a difficult process in getting sales reps into physician offices because you don't want to create any more additional.
And that's how it's done, right? Going in there, knocking on doors, pulling 100%. Their little carry-on or whatever it's called when you see them when you go to the doctor. That's what they're doing, right?
It's an important part of the, let's just call it educational process. Physicians do look toward companies to have their sales teams out to help deliver information, to help them learn about the latest innovative technologies.
Guys, how, in your opinion, as we talk to an audience here through Southern California, all the way up to Santa Barbara, out to Yuma, how are we doing in San Diego as a biopharma hub still? Are we still competing, in your opinion, both on the sales side, but on the development side too? I'll let you go first, Dave.
Definitely. I mean, I've been here 23 years, I guess, in San Diego, and it's done nothing but grow. The talent in San Diego for drug development is phenomenal. There's a lot of innovation done here, and it continues to grow.
And for you, Matt, are you finding that you guys, we're still at the tip of the spear here with respect to getting the word out to the rest of the country, the rest of the world about the drugs we're developing here?
To a certain extent, I do agree with Dave completely. San Diego has a really strong, and I would say relatively localized, it's not really very spread out geographically. It's really pretty compact, and a lot of really talented people to bring new products to market from various different angles and organizations.
So let's talk specifically about what you guys create. You have an aerosol, I'm not going to say spray, but inhalant, right?
No, it's a nasal spray.
Spray, okay.
Yep, delivered into the nasal passages where it's absorbed right in the nose and then gets directly into the bloodstream.
So, and if there's diabetic patients, they've been taking a similar drug, but they've been taking a pill.
Yeah, we reformulated a molecule that's been around for 40 years that's used for diabetic gastroparesis. But a pill just sits in the stomach for these folks, or they vomit up those pills. We deliver it through the nose, bypass the
because their stomach stopped working after a while. Isn't that the idea? Right?
Exactly.
What's the size of the market? What's the market size in the U.S. and globally, in your opinion?
Well, there's at least a couple million doses or prescriptions of oral metoclopramide that are written in the States each year.
Wow.
And so we're actually just looking to help those persons who have probably already failed on that treatment. Even a small portion of that represents...
try this instead.
Yeah, even a small portion of that represents a sizable opportunity for our small company.
And you guys are, just like anything else, it's a key selling proposition, right? You got to walk in there and say, this is what we have, and here's why it's different, and this is why you care. How do you get a doctor to listen to that when he's got everybody from the tetracycline salesman to the to the heart medicine salesman to the anti-inflammatory salesman?
Yeah, so it's all about share of voice, right?
Yeah, right.
Doctor. Fortunately, there's no other company talking about gastroparesis treatments today.
Oh, no kidding.
We're the only ones. So we do get the attention.
That's
right
good
there.
for grabbing market
It
share
helps a
eventually,
ton,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and the patients, there's a huge unmet medical need. They're often in these physicians' offices with symptoms. Vomiting is a rampant one. Of course, trying to swallow pills and vomiting them up, it's not beneficial to the patient. They also get hospitalized quite a bit because of dehydration and other issues that go along with this disease where their stomach doesn't allow them to absorb nutrients.
So when you guys are out there selling, Matt, is it better to go higher in the food chain to the doctor? Or is it worth maybe exploring going direct to consumer? And I'm not talking about selling to consumer, but talking about advertising to consumer. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, well, in today's day and age, especially with the internet, you can be pretty efficient and specific in targeting certain patients. There's a number of support groups out there that these patients are actively searching for new and interesting treatments to help them because they're not satiated. They have these horrible symptoms and they're looking for ways to improve their lives because some of them are losing their jobs, they're staying home because they're vomiting all day and all these other issues. And so you can target messaging into those different online groups to help them become aware of the product.
Can you imagine getting involved in an affinity group like that, though, and then it starts going viral. Then you're careful what you wish for, correct? But that would be a fantastic way to get the word out, correct?
You know, I read stories every day of the heartbreak of these people talking about, gee, I vomited 5 times yesterday.
And this is part of diabetes.
Yeah, but it's also gastroparesis is its own beast within that, and it does occur on its own apart from diabetes as well. Certain other events around abdominal surgery and other things can cause the same syndrome, but the largest contingent is diabetic gastroparesis.
Dave, I got to ask you, and I mentioned this when we did tape for the Big Biz Show the other day about COVID. FDA has been singularly focused, or was singularly focused, on getting a vaccine out to the masses. And as a result of that, I think Johnny Lunchbucket and Cindy CO were thinking, well, all the other diseases are to be put on the sideline. That's not what happened, is it? If FDA was able to triage, to use that parlance, other drugs, and you guys actually got approved right in the middle of COVID, right? Or right in the beginning of it?
We got approved in June
of
last summer. We launched the product in October. But yeah, FDA we worked very closely with them for a year to get to that approval. Fortunately, they had to cut off, unfortunately for other companies, they had to cut off visiting manufacturing sites.
Sure.
And that's a big piece of getting an approval. They had already
done they got to sniff around and look and make sure everything's
manufactured right. So they had already done that for us, so we were fortunate enough to be past that, and they could just review what we had sent in terms of documents.
Dave Gonyer is the CEO, president, co-founder of Evoke Pharma. Matt D'Onofrio, are you a co-founder as well?
I'm the other one.
The other one, Chief Business Officer. What does it look like for you guys going forward here over the next 18 months with respect to getting the word out here? Now that it seems like the economy shut like a light switch and is opening like a sunrise. It's not opening up like a light switch. Although some would argue that we're going to see pent-up demand meet supply shock very shortly here in the next couple of months. But what's it look like for you out there?
It's a really good observation because it is slowly opening up, and we're seeing that through stories from our sales team, physician meetings, and other things. I believe that both more patients will be coming back to the office. I mean, just my own regard, I had my physician contact me just last month saying, look, we haven't seen you in a couple of years, time to come back in.
You're like, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's also happening with the gastroenterologist that we're calling on. We do know for a fact that the patient volumes were down significantly during this last year for gastros and others as well, but gastros specifically, and that they're starting to bring them back in. They're also beginning to allow the sales reps back into their offices because before it was viewed as
you couldn't even go see people, right?
Yeah.
So same question to you though, on another side, on biopharma, is this the one and done sort of drug for you guys, or are you guys looking for the next thing over the next 18 months? Or do you know? You never know until it comes up.
You never know, but we're always looking. And when you have a sales force out there and you've had a product approved, companies start looking and calling you. So we're always open to opportunities.
One thing I talked to you about, Dave, and I want to ask you, Matt, is that interestingly enough, when I have interviewed biopharma, biotech companies in the past, most companies like yours get the thing to the 5-yard line and then let a bigger company use their distribution agreements to go out and sell. What made you decide to keep, you guys are going from inception to fruition. I don't think I've ever even talked to anybody who's done that before. That's pretty rare, isn't it, in this business?
It is relatively rare, I agree. Part of it was we were able to create a partnership with a group called Eversana Life Sciences. And they are an organization that has a number of commercialization capabilities underneath one roof.
So you basically did the same thing, but you got it was almost like a private equity deal. You took a partial exit, but you're able to keep control of the company, right?
In some ways, that's correct. Yeah. It's an interesting partnership. It's actually, I think, a novelty in the industry. It's never been done quite like this. And at the same time, Eversana has been a great partner, and they have an interesting set of capabilities that hasn't been put together in the past. So. A lot of outsourcing has been done in pharmaceutical development over the last 20 years. Now the commercialization component in terms of outsourcing is beginning to be a larger piece of the overall strategic approach.
Real quickly, by the way, Matt D'Onofrio, CBO, Dave Gonyer is the CEO of a company called Evoke Pharma. You can go to evokepharma.com. They also happen to be publicly traded under the stock symbol EVOK. For you, just one last question. How do you think we've done as a country through COVID as a biopharma company? I mean, would you have done anything differently, or did we cut any corners, or what do you think?
No, in terms of vaccines.
Yeah, right.
No, I think there was a real need. You can move vaccines a little bit faster than drugs.
Right.
I think it's a different kind of review system and development program. So I think the company did a great job of moving the vaccine quickly.
Exactly. Guys, we want to have you back. I want to follow your story. Once again, Matt D'Onofrio, Dave Gonyer, Evoke Pharma. You can go to evokepharma.com or check them out. They're publicly traded, EVOK. Thanks, guys, for coming in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
I feel smarter. Well, actually, I feel less smart because you guys are. Stand by.